Hey, Seven Rasslin Maniacs. I know this is a little different from what we usually do, but I thought this would be a good way for you to get to know me. And if you want to answer the questions yourself, it'll let me get to know you. So please feel free to let me know what you think in the comments section below. I pulled these 50 questions about wrestling from an article by Carl Anka, and he originally got them from Tape Machines Are Rolling. All right, number one, what got you into wrestling? Well, when I was a youngster, in the late 80s, I missed the heyday of rock and wrestling. I got my start. A neighbor of mine was a huge wrestling fan, and he started me watching the Saturday morning shows where the Mega Powers were getting ready to face off against the Mega Bucks. And we saw that Jesse Ventura was going to be the special referee. I saw Ted DiBiase literally bribe this dude. I remember being like, what? How is that legal? And I was hooked. Also, it didn't help that Miss Elizabeth was gorgeous. So, yeah. Number two, favorite promotion. Okay, I think it's the late 80s, early 90s WCW. I remember getting into professional wrestling as a WWE fan, like everybody did in my age back then, and then stumbling upon TBS and seeing this kind of edgier, kind of grittier show. Ric Flair and Sting and Lex Luger were a lot different than what you'd see on WWE TV, although you would eventually see them on WWE TV. Yeah, it really spoke to me. I think that the first show I actually ordered was the Halloween Havoc because they were going to have an electrified cage. I was very impressed. I was a little disappointed with how it turned out, but yeah, I was hooked from then on. Number three, favorite male wrestler of all time. Okay, this is tough because there was a point in time where I would have said it was Chris Benoit. Obviously, that point in time is long gone. So now I think I would say Randy Savage. I don't think his matches are my favorite, but as far as being like a total package of like a captivating persona, in-ring talent, etc., I think he's the guy. Also, I remember after WrestleMania 5 when he lost the belt to Hulk Hogan, I was a huge Hulkamaniac. I was excited, but was also very concerned, very drawn into what would happen to Savage next. I think that's the telltale sign of a compelling character is how you feel about them when they lose. Number four, favorite female wrestler of all time. I'm a little surprised. I might go with Sherry Martel, Sensational Sherry, the Sensational Queen. She, even when I was really little, could tell, knew it wasn't real, but when you're a kid, you don't know everything for sure, but like it just sensed that she was just somebody that committed to everything she did. And as I grew up and learned more and more about the business, just very impressed, coming up in a very difficult time and just having a fantastic character. So I'm going to go with Sensational Sherry. Number five, current male wrestler. This is tough. I would be an AJ Styles guy until recently. I think he's slowed down a bit. So in ring, I'm gonna go with Will Ospreay, and I don't love the flippy floppy, but I get that like he does it so insanely well. I don't need him. It does kind of bug me when like he'll do something like a Styles Clash off the top rope and somebody kicks out. So I do have a little bit of Jim Cornette in me apparently. But in ring, you can't deny that he is just technically amazing. As far as character wise, I gotta go Sami Zayn. I am giddy with how they're going to get him onto that Bloodline team for War Games. I think that's going to be some fascinating stuff. So I'm going to go with Sami Zayn for favorite current male character. Number six, favorite current female wrestler. In-ring and character, I'm going with Asuka. I love to watch her work. Her wrestling work is amazing. And then there's something about her character being she's not good, she's not bad, she's like a force of nature. Like I love those kinds of characters. Like Braun Breaker's kind of doing that now, where he's a bad guy, but then he also calls out to the fans, are there any dogs in the building? So I'm gonna go with Asuka with an honorable mention to Bianca Belair. I love her stuff in the ring. And I also something I love about Bianca Belair is I don't get the feeling that like creative came up with her character. Like I don't think they could. I think that's very much an extension of who she is. So I'm going to go with Bianca Belair, honorable mention. Also, Toni Storm. She cracks me up. The fact that she's taken what could be a one-note character and run with it for so long, and it's so funny. Toni Storm, another honorable mention. Number seven, favorite theme song. Well, Sexy Boy kind of feels like, there's something about Sexy Boy, because it's ridiculous. It's like the dumbest song of all time. but like you're ready to go, like you're ready to get up and fight the world when that song comes on. And I'll give honorable mention to the Demolition theme song. Same deal. Like once it comes on, it's like, all right, stuff's about to go down. Number 8, least favorite theme song. All right, probably not fair to pick something that was supposed to be bad, like, right to censors, like Sirens or something like that. So I'm going to go with American Males, because I think they were like, oh, they're a good guy tag team. Like, oh, this is a cool song. And it's like, American Males, American Males. And it is horrific. So I'll go with American Males. Number 9, favorite gimmick. Oh, obviously, Mike Awesome Fat Chick Thriller, right? No, I thought about this. I think the man Becky Lynch. There's something about a woman taking that name that it was just. I thought it was clever. I thought it spoke to her character. It was very defiant. Like you got it immediately. I'm going to give an honorable mention, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, to the Blue Blazer. I was a huge Owen Hart fan. Heartbroken what happened to him, but in the build-up to that, I could kind of sense where they were going, and it felt like he was going to be Kurt Angle before Kurt Angle was Kurt Angle, kind of like the world's toughest nerd, because he would be like, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, drink your milk. It kind of felt like it was going in that direction, and I think that being the opposite of everything going on in the Attitude Era could have been huge. So, a lot of people hate that and see it as a punishment, and it probably was a punishment, but like I did see a lot of potential in that, so honorable mention there. Number 10, least favorite gimmick. All right, I grew up with the new generation, and your gimmick was like a job. So you were a wrestling dentist, a wrestling sanitation worker, a wrestling plumber. It just seemed dumb. Like it's like if you're a wrestler, like the whole you're like wrestling is selling a fantasy, and Ric Flair was great at that. I'm the world champion, so I have the best shoes, I have the best watches, I have the best clothes. So to have like a wrestling plumber, just it's never made sense to me. Number 11, best entrance. Okay, for like like your usual everyday entrance, I'm going again. Shawn Michaels, great song, good energy, and then the feeling that the odds are pretty good you're about to see a really good match. But as far as like a specialty entrance, I'm going to go with CM Punk at WrestleMania 29 being played out by Living Color, because A, awesome song, B, Punk at the height of his coolness, and C, you could tell the band was into it. Like that's important to me. Like I don't want to see a bored band being like, oh, this is just another gig. Like they really, really seem like they were excited for it. Number 12, best Undertaker WrestleMania match. Oh, wow. The early ones were really bad, but they got good. So Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. It's probably the gold standard, although consider me somebody who loved the Hell in a Cell at 28 against Triple H, and then also Punk at 29. So I'll go Michaels at 25, though. Number 13, most overrated wrestler. Okay, all right, prepare to be hated, Senor Siete. Ric Flair. Character-wise, awesome. In-ring, people like Meltzer swear by Ric Flair, and I thought he had good matches, but like I never got Flair Steamboat, and I get that they should take away my wrestling fan card, but like those matches never did anything for me. Yeah, he just never did it for me. Number 14, most underrated wrestler. I'm going to go with Yokozuna on this one. I think because of his size, he gets a bad rap for being, not a good worker. But go back and watch some of the bumps he takes for a guy his size is amazing. I think his match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 9 is criminally underrated. And Bret has always said that there was a second half to that match that got cut off, which I would love to see. Because again, I think that's one of my underrated matches from an underrated wrestler, Yokozuna. Number 15, have you ever been to an event? Yes, actually. I'm actually a trained professional wrestler. The Senor Siete thing isn't just a gimmick. So, obviously I worked on a ton of shows. But the ones I've been to, big ones, I was at SummerSlam 95. I got to see that second ladder match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. WrestleMania 40, the most recent show I was at. So, yeah, I've been to quite a bit of wrestling shows. Number 16, who has the best merch? Obviously, Rikishi. Come on. Is it cheating to say the stuff with like the retro logos? I love that. Number 17. Do you own any merch? I do. I do. I have replica belts. I have action figures. I have masks. I have a ring bell, an actual physical WWE ring bell. I think my favorite thing, I might say, when they redid, they launched Jushin Thunder Liger figures. To grow up in the '90s when they were like, in between Hasbro and Jakks, there were no wrestling toys. They were hard to find. So the fact that I got a amazing Jushin Liger figure to me is awesome. So that's probably my favorite. Number 18, best nickname. I have always been partial to the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam, but there's something about the when Shawn Michaels would rattle off the icon, the showstopper, the main event, like that was always kind of a cool list of things, because then you could use all of them for his nickname. Number 19, worst nickname. Finn Balor was the extraordinary man who does extraordinary things. What did you expect from an extraordinary man? And guaranteed, what happened was they came up with the ordinary man that does extraordinary things, and Vince was like, what? No WWE superstar's ordinary. He's extraordinary. And then they had to go back and make it dumber. Number 20, best mic skills. I'm not the biggest Cody Rhodes fan. I don't dislike him, but when he's talking, I'm definitely listening. So right now I'd go with him. Obviously, respect goes out to Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, a lot of the classic guys as well. 21, worst mic skills. I'm going to go with Naomi. I feel like more than anybody, she tries to like shoehorn "Feel the Glow" into everything, and what does that even mean? So yeah, I'm going with Naomi. Yeah. Number 22, most attractive male. Okay, well, surely it needs to be someone who has an adjective in front of their name, like ravishing, beautiful, dashing. But for today, I would go Montez Ford. I have high hopes for him being a big deal someday. He's a good-looking dude. I think him and Bianca Belair are going to be like a golden heel couple someday, and I can't wait for it. Number 23, most attractive female. I don't see looks when it comes to women. I see their... okay, that's a lie. Trish Stratus, all-time, gotta be. She's number one. Even though in a video, I did say that Mandy Rose was more attractive than her. I think Mandy Rose is technically more attractive than her. I think Trish Stratus has way more charisma. So Trish is number one. For right now, I'm going Jade Cargill, because it's weird. It's like she's a superior being. Like she came down from the heavens. It's weird to be like, oh, that human is too good for me. It could never happen. She would never see anything in someone like me. Maybe that says more about me than it does her. But yes, Jade Cargill is perfection. Number 24, favorite faction. Maybe the NWO before it got too bloated. Those were special times. Like if you're just starting to watch wrestling now, or since the post 2000s, like know that like the Monday Night Wars, for all people talk about them, were very special. You're just flipping back and forth and surprised when someone new shows up or some crazy angle happens. So yeah, the early NWO was very special. I also might give an honorable mention to a very short-lived Horseman faction that had Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Brian Pillman, and Chris Benoit. Something about Pillman being in there as like a wild card was something that the Horsemen I always thought needed. So I'll give them an honorable mention. Number 25, worst faction. I want my factions they don't have to dress alike, but there has to be like a cohesion. Like groups like the Job Squad and like the conglomeration AEW, why are you together? Like, I don't get it. Number 26, best ring gear. Gotta be Shawn Michaels before he started wearing the pajama bottoms, because he had like a uniform look, right? You had the logos in the same places, the knee pads, the boots. But he would switch up with different colors. Sometimes there would be like a zebra print. Sometimes slight variations, like there would be like a DX logo or like a Texas state. So I think that's the way to go, is to have like something we can look at them and know who they come from, but then you switch it up from time to time. Number 27, nicest wrestlers in real life. I think this one they want to know who you think is nice. Actually, I've worked with many wrestlers. I've interviewed several wrestlers, and honestly, 99% of them were awesome. I think as far as the nicest, I would go Tony Atlas, Steve Austin, Nikki Bella, and surprisingly, Hulk Hogan. Number 28, rudest in real life. Okay, only one, and again, I know this is who do you think is, but I've met a lot of wrestlers. Only one has ever been rude to me, and I don't feel like putting him on blast here, so I'll leave it at that. Number 29, favorite heel. Oh, that's, I mentioned late WCW, late 80s, early 90s WCW. I'm going with Ravishing Rick Rude after he got that haircut. Him against the Warrior, him going to WCW and taking on Sting, like that is my guy, Rick Rude. Number 30, most hardcore wrestler. That's a weird question because you can go Japan with all the deathmatch guys. I think I'm gonna go New Jack because he legitimately seemed dangerous. He was almost killing dudes, except for the people they actually supposedly did kill. So yeah, I'm gonna go with New Jack. Number 31, a wrestler I could beat. Well, when I was younger, I could probably beat a few wrestlers, but I think today, I think I'll go with present-day Hulk Hogan. Just kick him in the back of one of his knees, he'd crumple, which is awful because, like I said, he was so great to me. Number 32, best storyline. Oh, the Mega Powers explosion. Like I said, that's what got me hooked on wrestling. More recently, I'd go with Sami Zayn joining the Bloodline and then getting kicked out. Or leaving, I guess. Yeah, that was just edge of my seat, must watch stuff. Number 33, biggest missed opportunity. Oh, we did a whole list on this. The invasion, the WCW invasion of WWE is the easy answer, but I'll go with they had Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin on their active rosters at the same time, and they were just never able to get both sides on board for a match. They wrestled in a weird handicap match on Raw, but never got them to go one-on-one. Number 34, worst storyline. All right, now hear me out on this one. I'm going to go with Daniel Bryan winning the world title at WrestleMania 30, which was an awesome moment, but the way they got there was such a backwards, ridiculous mess that it was the worst storyline. People were desperate to see Daniel Bryan win the belt, and they kept screwing him out of it, which would be fine if the intention was to build him up to win it at WrestleMania 30, but that was never what they had in mind. And they, all along the way, they did everything they could to kind of step on his momentum. They tried to give the yes chant to the Big Show. They had him join the Wyatt family. It just across the board, just how. And honestly, the main event of that WrestleMania was supposed to be Randy Orton against Batista, and Daniel Bryan was supposed to wrestle Sheamus fifth from the top. So I'm giving worst storyline to them because why it ended up being awesome. It was not because of them. It was a total accident. If CM Punk doesn't leave at that Royal Rumble, then, we get a Batista, Randy Orton main event that gets booed out of the building. Number 35, which wrestler should turn heel? Oh, the Big Show. Could you imagine if the Big Show turned heel? No, I don't know. I don't like this question because I feel like eventually everybody turns face or turns heel these days. It's not like you're Ricky Steamboat, Rick Rude anymore. Number 36, which wrestler should turn face? I told you, I don't like this question. Moving on. Number 37, who would be the worst to room with? Oh, okay, I'm going to feel, I like Mick Foley. I've met Mick Foley. He's a very good guy. But remember when WWE did that weird animated show where the guys would tell stories? There's one where Triple H talks about him and Mick Foley wrestling a match, and Mick Foley's super sweaty afterwards. And they return to the locker room, and Mick Foley takes off his sweaty shirt, takes off his sweaty underwear, sweaty sweatpants, hops in the shower, and then dries off with his sweaty t-shirt, and then puts his sweaty underwear and sweatpants back on. And that's always kind of grossed me out a little bit. So I love you, Mick, but I can't room with you. Number 38, who would be best to room with? Oh, is it Trish Stratus? Is that inappropriate? Because I'd want her to teach me about yoga. Not for any other creepy reasons. Number 39, who would be your best friend if you were a wrestler? Tony Atlas, surprisingly. I would let him go about his own business when he had to deal with women's feet, because that's a thing he really enjoys. But he was a really great guy. Is still a great guy, I'm assuming. Number 40. What would your job be? If I work for WWE, I like the idea of designing merchandise is cool. Being a writer is cool. I think there's something to be said. Obviously they're doing a really good job, building out storylines that made sense. You'd heard stories that they didn't like continuity being a part of wrestling. Like McMahon, somebody like made a Bible of all like who'd worked together, who'd broken up with each other, stuff like that made sense to do callbacks. And Vince was like, wrestling fans don't care about that, and that's not true. Like wrestling fans love callbacks. So being a writer, being somebody with a memory for it like I do, I think that would be useful. Also, I love the Attitude Era when everybody had a catchphrase. Like I think everybody was over in the Attitude Era, most people, and it was because people had something to look forward to when they came out. So working with them on things that would help people remember them, I think that'd be cool as well. Number 41, favorite wrestling podcast or YouTube channel? Oh, come on. Obviously, Seven Rasslin. V Infuso is awesome. I watch everything. What Culture, WrestleMania, all of them. So, yeah. Number 42, favorite finisher. Oh, how can it not be? Actually, truthfully, the super kick, but it's not really that much of a finisher anymore. Shawn Michaels could just pull it out of nowhere. It was awesome. But I'm going to go with the stunner. They say the best finishers can be done on anybody, and Steve can do it on anybody. And I've said this before, where it's kind of like in comedy, there's something called the aristocrats joke, where you start a joke being like a family comes into a talent agent, and then he's like, well, do your act. And then the comedian will tell the most disgusting story they can tell. And the punchline is always, yeah, what do you call this? And they go, the aristocrats. That's kind of the Stone Cold Stunner, where no two people sell it the same way. Everybody has their own unique way, and it's almost like a matter of pride who can do the most ridiculous sell job. So I'm going with the stunner. Number 43, least favorite finisher. I don't know what Sasha Banks is trying to do, but what she is doing is awful. I hate her finisher so much. I don't think I've ever seen it hit to a degree where I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I mean, I get what she's trying to do. I don't think she's ever done a particularly good job of it. So I would go back to the Banks statement if I were her. Number 44, favorite match. Oh, again, I was a Benoit guy. My favorite match was Benoit Angle at Royal Rumble 2003. But I can't watch the stuff anymore. And I get separating the art from the artist. And I can listen to R. Kelly music and be fine. But, whenever I watch a Chris Benoit match, it's just not for me. I won't fault anybody for doing it. It's just not for me. So my favorite match now, I'd go with Johnny Gargano against Andrade from TakeOver Philadelphia. Number 45, favorite pay-per-view. Oh, WrestleMania 17. I know that's the gold standard for a lot of people, and it's a close second for me, but I got to go with Canadian Stampede in 1997. Everything about that show is great. Foley against Triple H is great. The 10-man main event is amazing. Vader and Undertaker have a very underrated match on that card, and I was a big Japanese pro wrestling guy, especially during like the J Cup. So to see Taka Michinoku against the Great Sasuke I was in heaven. I couldn't believe it was. I couldn't believe I was able to watch that without having to spend a lot of money on a VHS tape. Number 46, guilty pleasure wrestler. Okay, this is kind of a weird answer. I'm going with Andy Kaufman because in hindsight, Andy Kaufman was terrible. He was an awful wrestler. He didn't actually wrestler. He was there more for the gimmick. But even the stuff about him knocking Lawler and I'm from Memphis, like all of it is just clearly cheap heat BS that I would knock any other wrestler for doing today. But because it's Andy Kaufman and he's a genius, he gets a pass. Number 47, favorite submission. I'm going. There's a lot of good ones. I'm going with the sharpshooter because when I was growing up, people didn't submit. Like main card wrestlers did not submit. Even if you had a wrestler like Greg Valentine who would use the hammer jammer on his figure four. Like the people tended not to submit. I feel like Bret Hart, when Kurt Hennig submitted it at SummerSlam, that was huge. Like you didn't see wrestlers submit so often back then. So I'm going with the sharpshooter. Number 48, most entertaining wrestler to watch. Let's go with late 90s Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, I think, is like it's between Shawn and Bret, 1 and 1A, and I'll change my answer every other day. Right now, I'm going with Shawn Michaels in the late 90s. Again, and Shawn had two very different careers, and it's like he got smarter and slowed down. But like he would, like, just to see him, there's something about, when he would tuck his head into under someone's arm to start like a rope spot was just so, it seemed like very unique at the time. So I'm going with him, even though he was a real a-hole back then. Number 49, best spot. There's a lot of fancy, amazing spots. I'll tell you what the worst spot is, Canadian Destroyer. If I never see another Canadian Destroyer again, I'll be a happy man. It's like a headlock these days. But there's something about when you do mat wrestling and then you bridge up from a backslide. To me, every time I see it, I feel the need to be like, that's really hard to do. It is hard to do. Number 50, who do you most respect? Huh. That's tough. Like it's hard to even use the term respect sometimes around pro wrestling with some of the people in it. I'll go with Cody Rhodes, though. There's something to be said for somebody who spent his entire career in WWE, realizing that he'd hit a ceiling and he wasn't going to go any further, and leaving. Like that's so brave to me. I don't know if I don't know if I have that kind of bravery, to be honest. To go out there and test the waters. And he excelled when he got out there, and he found his thing. He became a better wrestler and came back, and look at him now. So I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes. All right, that is 50 questions about pro wrestling. Let me know your answers below. I know it's a lot, but again, the more we learn about each other, the more hopefully I can tailor what I do to what you want to see. If you enjoyed this, and I get it's long and weird, but yeah, like the video. Hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Honestly, like I see you. The people that are hitting like as soon as something gets posted, that's so huge. I can't. I've been doing this for about almost 2 years at this point. I can't emphasize like how much it touches me to see people enjoying it, people interacting. Like I love it. So I love you, brother. Keep it up, and yeah, have a great day. Bye-bye.